All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. We thank you for joining us another Monday morning for our morning high five. We thank you for being here, being present. And this morning we're looking at Joshua chapter 6, verses 12 through 21. So I will read it. We'll dive right into it. Joshua chapter 6, verse 12 through 21. So starting in verse 12, it says, Then Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord, and the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horn before the ark of the Lord walked on, and they blew the trumpets continually. And the armed men were walking before them, and the rear guard was walking after the ark of the Lord, while the trumpets blew continually. And the second day they marched around the city once and returned into camp. So they did for 6 days. On the 7th day they rose early at the dawn of day and marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. It was only on that day that they marched around the city 7 times. And at the 7th time, when the priests had blown the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, Shout, for the Lord has given you the city, and the city and all that is within it shall be devoted to the Lord for destruction. Only Rahab the prostitute and all who are with her in her house shall live, because she hid the messengers whom we sent. But you keep yourselves from the things devoted to destruction, lest when you have devoted them, you take any of the devoted things and make the camp of Israel a thing for destruction, and bring trouble upon it. But all silver and gold and every vessel of bronze and iron are holy to the Lord. They shall go into the treasury of the Lord. So the people shouted, and the trumpets were blown. As soon as the people heard the sound of the trumpet, the people shouted a great shout, and the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they captured the city. Then they devoted all in the city to destruction, both men, women, young and old, oxen, sheep, and donkeys, with the edge of the sword. So that is Joshua chapter 6, verses 12 through 21. When I looked at that, kind of going over it, and like last week I had mentioned, and I was talking about how the plan that they're executing now, how it really doesn't make sense. It's not really a strategy you use to win a war. And so what I saw this time is, like, looking at it again, not only the plan not making sense also confuses the enemy because it doesn't make sense. So, Jericho knows that Israel is trying to get through their walls and they're trying to take over their city. But as you're preparing for war, and if you see your opponent form these lines and line up in groups and start marching around your walls, playing their trumpet, that doesn't really prepare you for war. The first day, I'm sure they're like, what's going on? What are they doing? Are they trying to go around the back? Like, what, trying to figure out their strategy. What are they doing? Right. And then the second day, it's like, okay, they're doing it again. Okay, they're just marching around, because they just marched around once and then they were gone, went back to their camp. All right. And then so you can imagine, like, the 3rd, 4th, 5th day, Jericho kind of knows what they're going to do. They probably know the song that they're going to play on the trumpets, and like, hey, we got music again today, and they're just seeing this group of people just walk around the city, and that doesn't really prepare them for war. I'm sure the people who were supposed to be, like, really on guard, preparing for war, were just like, I don't even need to bring my sword today. Like, they're just going to march around and then go. Like, it really, I not only does it, it not make sense, but I think it confused the enemy also. God's plan, like, it has purpose. And I believe that it Jericho didn't really understand what they were doing, so they couldn't really prepare for war like maybe they were on that first day. And then on that 7th day, when they're just going around, they're like, oh, maybe they just want some extra exercise today, and then all of a sudden, like, the walls just fall down flat. And then that's when they realize it, like, oh, but by that time it's too late, because Jericho is then storming the city because the walls have, come down flat. But like I said, I think part of the plan was just confusing the enemy. I thought about the song Marvin Sapp, "Praise Him in Advance," and there's a line he says where he says, "Praise will confuse the enemy," and that's essentially kind of what they were doing, going around praising the Lord, going around playing their trumpets, and it confused the enemy because they were, at first probably expecting war, and then after that, after so many days, they probably let their guard down, and it was just like, yeah, they're just doing whatever they do. And that was one of the things that I saw in there, just how the plan that really doesn't make sense, like on both sides, it still has purpose. God still found a way to use that plan to achieve His goal and His purpose.
Yeah. So kind of what I got from it was just focus on the task at hand and follow instructions to the T, especially when it's the instructions is given from God, right? I look at it and I use a sports example with it. A team can only be as great as the team is that's executing the right way, with executing the coach's plan and following instructions to a T, right? Those are the more successful teams, the teams that follow the leadership and execute, right? So what happened at Jericho, the walls would have never fell down if the Israelites, they didn't do what was told to them. They didn't do exactly what was told to them. If like Richard said, it didn't make sense. So if they would have just said, oh, that doesn't make sense, and they didn't want to do it, and everybody's like, okay, we need another plan because that doesn't make sense. Now nothing happens. Now you lose out on everything, right? It's the same thing in basketball. It's a timeout. It's 2 seconds left in the game. Coach is drawing up a play. But if you think there was one play, it made me think of Charles Barkley. And when they were playing, when he was with the Phoenix Suns, and one of the best drawn up plays ever made, it was confusing because once he drew up the play, Charles Barkley and them was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but we're going to try it. And what they did was they set up for the out of bounds guy. And if you're familiar with basketball, the half court line is about 50 or 45 or 50 feet from the goal, right? What the coach drew up was for the out of bounds man to throw the ball and throw it off the backboard so that it can drop right into Charles Barkley's hand and he can go right up for a layup. Everybody in the whole huddle was confused, but they just said, okay, we're going to do it. I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to do it. And sure enough, he throws the ball up. The other team didn't even know what was going on. They're like, why is he throwing the ball towards the rim? They need to get a shot here. Ball hits the backboard, falls in Charles Barkley's hands. He lays it up, and they win the game, right? Now, if they would have stayed confused and they would have questioned it, and they would have said, okay, coach, draw up something else, they probably would have lost the game. But they followed the instructions, even though it didn't make sense, because just as same point as Richard, just as much as it didn't make sense to them, it did not make sense to the defense. And the only reason why it was able to be executed was because the defense was confused. They didn't know what was going on. So it's the same thing. You have to follow instructions, even when it doesn't seem like it's the right thing to do. You got to make sure you do it, because the same thing happened for Charles Barkley, the same thing that happened for people in Israel, right? But I'm joking, but really, like, if Israel didn't execute what God has said, there's two things really. If you look at the text, like, the walls would have never came down, and then the prostitute's family, they wouldn't have been protected. It would have been a wrap. They wouldn't have been able to get out and go to be free. When This lady, if you go back a few chapters, she knew it was something about Israel that she had to. She made a deal. Look, if I let you out, I'm going with y'all, because I heard about what's going on. Right. So now, if they don't follow instructions, that lady and what she knew in that deal that she made, it falls apart. Right. So that kind of lets you know that things are not just what you do, but things around you falls apart when you don't follow God's instructions. So that's kind of my thing.
That's both great points. And my point really kind of falls right in line with that. I was looking at it, and just from what we can read, if you do the math on it, they walked around Jericho 13 times. 13 times.
Right.
So, like you said, part of it is, would you obey God walking around the same place over and over and over again, and nothing is changing? Like nothing, you don't see the wall start to crack on on the time number 7. Like, okay, yeah, we coming back tomorrow. We go, you don't see any change, but
Absolutely.
if you, like you were saying, Darnell, if you stop on time number 11, like, this is stupid. What are we doing? Like,
right. It falls apart.
What are we doing? This is dumb. Like, you missed the blessing. But the specific thing I wanted to look at, and again, it falls in line with what both of you were saying, is verse number 18. How it says, but you keep yourselves from the things devoted to destruction. And it, like I love how you put it, Darnell, about your focus. Like, okay, you've been walking, you've been obeying, you've been trusting God. You're believing, okay, he's going to knock these walls down. But even once the walls come down, God has more instruction. God says, okay, once the walls fall down, I need you to make sure, like you were just mentioning, Rahab and her family, no one can touch them. Like, they are part of Israel at this point. Like, you cannot destroy them. They're not cursed. I've given you the city, and everything else in it is cursed. Except Rahab and her family, and then the silver and the gold, we're going to put that in the treasury for God. Right. Everything else, you need to have your focus. You need to not, this doesn't look like it needs to be destroyed. I want to live there. Like, no, we're not. That's not what we're doing. Follow the instructions. Stay focused. God is saying, I'm giving you the city. I've given you the plan first. I gave you the plan. Now I'm giving you the city, but don't lose your focus. Watch yourself. Make sure you don't start to look around and go, well, now that we're in, it's a free for all. I'm gonna get mine. Like, no, follow the instructions. Stay focused. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, people get in there and start looking for wives and stuff. Like, no.
Right. But yeah, like, it's interesting, and like on every level, like there's instructions on how to prepare to, okay, you need to walk quietly. We're gonna blow the horns. After that instruction, when the walls come down, there's more, like, okay, don't touch this. Make sure you keep that Rahab and her family safe. At every level, there's instructions. It's just, do you have the focus? Do you trust God enough to really, like, to follow through, to really listen? And it goes right along with what we're talking about in church. Like the new sermon series, like listening for God's directions.
Right.
It is right in line with that, like we're fasting, we're praying. Like, can you listen to God? Because, I'll cut it off after this. Like, God gave people in the Bible such great instructions. He didn't always give them all details, but he gave them instructions. Here's the outline of the plan I want you to use. Now, again, a lot of the times it didn't make sense. I don't get it, but there's an outline. Like you use the example. There's a play, I'm drawing it up. I know you may not get it, but I'm drawing up a play. Like, just, if you can just, if you're listening, if you're paying attention and you are willing to be obedient, there's a play. But how many of us, like, we find ourselves in situations where we're just like, I don't even know. I don't know the play. I don't know. I don't know the plan. I don't know. I haven't heard nothing. Like, the coach said, they're like, what do you mean? I'm talking right now. Like, you mean you don't know? Like,
right.
Yeah. But that was it. You guys had anything else to add?
Not just in listening to God, like as we were talking about, like hearing the play. If I am like yelling, or if I'm frustrated and I'm yelling at the coach or at the players, then I'm not able to hear the play. I'm not able to hear God speak to me, you know. So it really takes that quietness, and that really just, you know, hearing from God. It's not about, you know, what you're saying or what you need to say. It's about what God needs and is trying to say to you, you know. And so I just think that's important to hear from. Like, you have to be quiet to hear.
Yeah.
That's why we have 2 ears.
Right. I was about to say, the old folks, like, that's why you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, just, you know, whatever example you would use, like, it really is about trusting the person who is giving you instructions. Yeah. You know, like you said, at a certain point, if you are already just like, I don't like the plays they draw up, I don't like, you're already like, you know, like, even if it's a great play, you're just like, I don't like it. They always come up with something I don't like.
Right.
But at a certain point, it's like, are you gonna trust the person who is leading, the person who's in charge? Are you gonna trust? And you know, I think that's the reason, you know, we really need to be praying and fasting. Like, I need to trust, you know, God. I need to trust that I know He's doing what's best for me, because there's a lot happening. There's a lot going on. But do I trust my God? Do I know that He's doing what's best for me? So, yeah, we could keep going. That's good. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot there, but I mean, the more you really to break it down, like, it, you know, it really doesn't stay alive. But unless you guys have anything else, we'll say thank you for joining us for another high five. We appreciate your faithfulness. We appreciate all your comments and everything. Remember, today is the first day of the fast. We're praying at 9, 12, 3, and 6. So even if you have issues with the fast part, at least pray with us. We're praying 9, 12, 3, 6. We hope you'll join us. All right. Have a great day.